Yo, what's up guys? You got pokeaim here with another Pokemon Sword and Shield Moveset video guide on how to use Eldegoss. We only have 2 left after this on the official guides, like on the ones that I'm doing like this, but I'll still be doing, well basically after this, let me say the 2 we have left, but we have Galarian, Mr. Mime, and then we have Colossal. So after that, I'll be making a giant video, which I should have had up already, talking about all the fully evolved Pokemon, every single one in this generation, both new and old, giving them all sets. So for some of them, sets might have been a little bit updated. A lot of the sets that I made for all the videos, at least 1 or 2 will always, I think, be static or good, but some other sets may have been, you know, discovered or evolved based on the metagame. And then I'll have another video where I go over all the baby Pokemon, so all the little cup Pokemon, right? The ones that can work at level 5 and stuff like that, and having a set with that. So that'll be a lot of fun. But you guys came here for Eldegoss. Let me talk about Eldegoss. Eldegoss is a pure grass type, and it has Regenerator, which is really cool. They got rid of Amoonguss this generation, so they gave us a new Regenerator Pokemon in Eldegoss. Not that it has anything on Amoonguss. Amoonguss has Spore, Amoonguss absorbs T-Spikes, has Sludge Bomb. But Eldegoss is interesting because with Regenerator and Rapid Spin in its arsenal, it can actually be a pretty decent Rapid Spinner, being able to come in, take damage, switch out, and then restore HP due to its Regenerator. That plus heavy duty boots allowing it to basically ignore hazards on the field work really well on Rapid Spinners. So the first set we have on this Eldegoss, and a little bit more about it, but great special defense stat at base 120 and a pretty solid defensive stat at base 90. Unfortunately, its HP is base 60 and so is its speed, so it's relatively slow, but it has a decent special attack stat as well, though it doesn't really have very many special attacks, and we'll get into that in a bit. But the first set, I mentioned Regenerator, I mentioned Heavy Duty Boots, and Heavy Duty Boots is probably the item you're almost always going to be running on Eldegoss, unless you're running either Leftovers or Rocky Helmet, and we'll discuss that a little bit more. But we'll be running a specially defensive dual powder set. Now, the idea behind this Eldegoss is to rapid spin away your hazards from Pokemon maybe like Steelix or Gigalith, right, because it can switch in on those, threaten them with Sleep Powder, and maybe potential switching as well, expecting you to go for the Rapid Spin like Salazzle wants to be a little bit cheeky and come in on you. You can either Sleep Powder that thing, putting it to sleep, or you can go for Stun Spore, paralyzing it. So it's using Eldegoss as a bit of an annoyance, right? An annoying Rapid Spinner. Especially defensive lets it take on Vaporeon better, so it can switch in on Vaporeon and not be 2 KO'd by Ice Beam. And the 56 speed actually allows you to outspeed min speed Vaporeon. They have to be running quite a bit of speed in order to outspeed you. But you can also take on Jellicent better as well with this. So just bulky waters in general, but you're able to Sleep Powder them and Giga Drain them for recovery or slow them down. And slowing down is such a, you know, you see Pokemon running Thunder Wave all the time because it supports teammates so well, right? You slow down a giant threat like a Salazzle, or you slow down a Scarfer, right? And then like your Choice Band Passimian or your Choice Band Pangoro or your Specs threat or your Artivish, right, can be giant threats just because of the fact that Eldegoss has slowed down massive threats. So the idea behind it is to be an annoying dual powder user. Obviously both Sleep Powder and Stun Spore have 75% accuracy. Not the best, but and its main thing is, you know, you don't really, you can't touch Xatu. That's another thing. A counter to this is definitely Xatu. Fire types are good switches to Eldegoss if it's not running Sleep Powder, if it misses Sleep Powder. And its inability to also deal with other grass types too. Sun is pretty common in RU. So Pokemon like Vileplume can just come in. Pokemon like Shiftry. Goodra is also a really good counter because of Sap Sipper, and then it threatens it with Fire Blast or Flamethrower respectively. However, with a special defensive set, you can actually take at least 1 hit and Rapid Spin away the hazards because that's Eldegoss's role. In terms of teammates with a special defensive double powder set, or even any type of Eldegoss, Fire, Water, Grass core is really nice, but specifically Grass and Water are super nice together in this tier. So a Pokemon like Vaporeon is so nice with Eldegoss, especially because Eldegoss can take the electric type attacks and the grass type attacks aimed at Vaporeon, whereas Vaporeon takes the fire type attacks and the ice type attacks aimed at Eldegoss. Of course, there are exceptions to this, but they work really well together. Goodra's also a pretty good teammate for Eldegoss because of its ability to take on Pokemon like Shiftry as well as Vileplume or just other grass types in general that Eldegoss doesn't like too much due to either secondary moves like Throat Chop from Shiftry or Sludge Bomb from Vileplume. And even Roserade can be a giant threat for it, so Goodra is a Pokemon that can help with that. allowing you to deal and switching on those. So the next set we have is a physically defensive Eldegoss, and this one switches into Pokemon like Steelix a little bit better, and it doesn't necessarily need the full support from a Pokemon like Vaporeon, you know, to take the physical hits coming out of it. So again, the EV spread kind of just shifted from Spadef to physically defensive. We're running 252 HP, 200 defense, 56 speed. 56 speed still allows you to outspeed the minimum speed Vaporeons. You're able to take on hits from Steelix, and you can either run heavy duty boots or Rocky Helmet on the set. Now this set has a lot of slashes, and we'll be talking about in a second, but heavy duty boots of course allows you to avoid the hazards, whereas Rocky Helmet can be good for punishing physical attackers, getting that extra chip on them. With the defensive spread, you can take from full a choice band close combat from Pangoro, and depending on your moveset, you can either rapid spin or even sleep powder. Now, the three, I think, static moves on physically defensive are going to be Giga Drain, Rapid Spin, and Leech Seed. Leech Seed is really nice, too, because a Pokemon like a Scavalier might try and come in on Eldegoss or other Steel types that resist a Giga Drain, and you can Leech Seed to get recovery. It's also good in general for anything that resists Giga Drain coming off from Eldegoss, as long as it's not a Zatu with Magic Bounce or an opposing Grass type, being able to pass that passive recovery. And again, this fares really well with Vaporeon, but I think Giga Drain, Rapid Spin, and Leech Seed are a given. Giga Drain is your offensive option versus it. Now, your last move is really dependent on your team. You need to put something to sleep. It benefits you. You put Sleep Powder. You think it's better to slow down teammates because you have strong Pokemon like Passimian or Specs Goodra or Choice Band Pangoro, or maybe a Barbaracle, and your opponent, and you want to give it an easier chance to sweep, Stun Spore, slow down your opponent. You want to get a little bit extra recovery from Leech Seed plus Protect. Protect can work as well. Pollen Puff is an interesting option, and it doesn't really have the best coverage. However, it does mean that Eldegoss isn't useless versus grass types. For example, Shift Tree cannot set up a growth versus you, and you actually don't die to Shift Tree. It's like one attack from Shift Tree. It has to growth, and then you can knock it out with Pollen Puff respectively. But it gives you an option versus defensive, what's it called? Defensive grass types. It gives you an option when you're defensive versus offensive grass types. Sorry about that. But a few other options are aromatherapy. You can use it as a cleric to help provide the help out the rest of your team as well. And then either synthesis is also cool too if you want to have the immediate recovery on Eldegoss. I don't like synthesis as much just because you have Leech Seed, you have Giga Drain for recovery, and you have Regenerator as well. You're going to be pivoting in and out. So I don't think synthesis is that necessary, but it could work, especially if you're running Rocky Helmet to wear down opponents even quicker with that, plus Leech Seed plus Giga Drain recovery. So those are all up to you from there. The next set we have is a specially defensive Eldegoss set, and going back to the same EV spread as the first set, but it's Giga Drain, Rapid Spin, Leech Seed, and Aromatherapy, and this one pairs, I think, excellently with Vaporeon specifically. They all pair excellently with Vaporeon just because of natural typing and whatnot and resistances, but this one pairs really well with Vaporeon specifically because, first off, it's a Rapid Spinner, right? It's a Rapid Spinner with heavy duty boots, so it doesn't take hazard damage, but Toxic Spikes can go up, and a Pokemon like Roserade or Garbodor will definitely force Eldegoss out. Later you can Rapid Spin, but you will definitely be forced out. So in that scenario where hazards are up, a Pokemon like Vaporeon or even other bulky Pokemon like Gigalith or anything along those lines will be taking hazard damage, right? And they might take Toxic Spike, which means they'll be poisoned. So Aromatherapy allows you to better support your teammates with that, and of course getting rid of that status on Vaporeon, and whereas you're allowing Vaporeon to deal with Pokemon like Garbodor or Steelix a little bit better, this is more especially defensive, just being able to pivot in always on Vaporeon and Jellicent to do its thing. And yeah, that's why I think Aromatherapy is just necessary, and the option and the only item for this one is the heavy duty boots. And the last set we have is trying to use its Cotton Down ability. Now, the way Cotton Down works is it lowers your speed of all Pokemon except itself when hit by an attack. So, whether you're hit by a special or a physical attack, Cotton Down will lower the speed of your of an opponent's Pokemon. Excuse me. We wanted to kind of make a makeshift like a bad Whimsicott here. By that I mean like Whimsicott's Pokemon that can just substitute and Leech Seed and Prankster do all that too. Of course, the bad thing about that is you don't hit Dark types, but you do have Stab, Moonblast in Whimsicott's case to threaten the Dark types. Whereas Eldegoss doesn't really have a move pool, period. But it does have Substitute, it does have Leech Seed, and it does have Giga Drain. Now, Substitute's cool because it allows you to obviously avoid hits, and with the combination of Leech Seed and Leftovers, you're able to recover that. Now, unfortunately, when you get hit behind a substitute, Cotton Down does not activate. But if you use Eldegoss to come in on something like a Steelix or something, and you go for Cotton Guard, you go for Cotton Guards, they go for Heavy Slam, trying to do some damage to you. You lower their speed, but more importantly, you up your defenses, right? So those are like scenarios where you can up your defenses with Cotton Guard, and that means that later on physical threats as well, it doesn't matter what the physical threat is, you can take the hits because Cotton Guard is boosting your defense by +3, and then you can sub and Leech Seed and be behind the sub and use Giga Drain for recovery from there. So it's kind of trying to use the Cotton Guard ability. I'm sure there's a few other ways you can use Cotton Guard, Cotton Down plus Cotton Guard, or some sort of ability like this, and maybe a Draft League style. But in terms of standard, I tried my best to make this one work. I do think that the physically or special defensive, depending if your team needs a physical or special defensive grass type, that's literally it, right? If you feel like you're comfortable on the physical side, but maybe water types are really hard for you to switch into, use special defensive Eldegoss, right? Or if you feel like physical water types like Barbarical, you don't really switch into Liquidation well or something like that, use a physically defensive Eldegoss. That's up to you. I'm sure that the EV spreads as well can be different, but these are just basic, the really basic ones. No, they're not. You don't have to listen to this, right? If you want, you can put more speed depending on the Pokemon you find yourself losing to sometimes. But for the most part, that's all I have with you guys. That's all I have with you guys. That's all I have for you guys when it comes to Eldegoss. Really wish this thing got a little bit more of a move pool. Didn't really get much. It got, I guess it got Weather Ball, which is cool. But why would I use this when there's so many better grass types that can just abuse Sun, whereas this doesn't even have the ability to abuse Sun. Weather Ball just gives it a fire type Weather Ball in the Sun itself. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Hope y'all learned something. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe. We got 2 more of these, and then we have a whole bunch of other stuff coming up. And I'll be doing Wi-Fi battles again and things like that, so it should be a lot of fun. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, my friends.